Okay, I'm so interested to see what happens in this Tron mirror almost matchup. Round number 14 is on the way. We've only got 3 to go before a cut to the top 8. Riley and Corey, I'll pass it over to you.
Good afternoon, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the feature match area here on the tournament floor at Pro Tour, the Lord of the Rings Rally Night, joined by Corey Baumeister and a Tron mirror, as we've already discussed down in the feature match area here. Our very first, I'm very excited to tell you, win and in for Simon Nielsen. With 13 wins, Simon will be, and now this sounds kind of bad, but it's actually very good. He will be removed from the tournament.
He's out of here.
He's out of here. No, he goes straight to the top 8 if he wins this match. And so he'll, of course, be hoping to do that. 13 wins, you go straight to the top 8. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You collect a lot more than that, the top 8, I'll tell you that much.
You sure do.
You sure do. But for Christian Calcano, he's still got a bit of a battle to secure his top 8 slot. So he'll be doing exactly that, fighting his guts out, of course, to try to get that coveted top 8. He's second, I believe.
Yes, absolutely. Pro Tour Amonkhet in Nashville, where he made it in playing zombies, I believe. And like Maria was saying, it was one of the most special moments that I got to be a part of. I was, of course, I didn't make day 2, but I was on the sidelines cheering on his opponent at the time, who was a teammate. But,
and then at some point just had the cold realization that the sidelines, Corey, is where you belonged all along. And now you're here with me, my dude.
I knew it, yep.
Love to see it. All right, we're gonna kick things off here. Both players in the Tron mirror opening on 7 cards, so we love to see that. And both of them opening up with chromatic artifacts. We've got a sphere, we've got a star. And Calc is the first one to crack his. We've got Tower and Power Plant and a Sylvan Scrying for him.
And on the play.
So looking very good for Christian Calcano.
And the one thing that Christian Calcano's list has compared to Simon Nielsen is, well, 100% more Karn liberated. AK, there's 2 in Christian Calcano's list.
2 to 1.
So if Calcano does have that start of Karn liberated on turn 3, which is kind of the traditional Tron start that we've had, and there it is. That's just gonna be game already, which is kind of wild to say unless Simon Nielsen has
Sorry, Corey, I'm
Boseiju.
just getting a phone call. I'm just going to take this real quick. Hello. It's 2019, and they want their modern format back, my dude.
Exactly. I was gonna say unless Simon has the one of Boseiju, which he does.
Okay. Well, I can cancel that call. I can call him back and say it's no longer required. Alrighty, well, Boseiju is proving to be a decisive card in this format. Doesn't go after the ring, but it does tear apart a whole number of decks. Or it's almost like an anti-disruption piece in many matchups. It can take out the main deck Blood Moon when you're facing off against Rakdos Evoke, of course. A range of really important use cases for this channel card, particularly when you're playing Ren and 6, because you can channel it, bring it back, channel it again, bring it back, so on and so forth.
Yep, absolutely.
Simon Nielsen here crossing his fingers, hoping that the worst isn't going to come to pass for him off this Ancient Stirrings.
These two having a lot of fun.
They're ready to have a great time. This is the second time they've played against each other today. They faced each other in the draft rounds, and they seem to be having just about as much fun then as well.
Exactly, and they're not teammates, but they're as close to teammates without actually being on the same team as you can possibly get. And you would think, oh, maybe Simon, is he just this excited when he's 12-1 at a Pro Tour? Nah.
No.
He could be 1-12 and he'd be as hyped right now. That's just the vibrant personality that Simon has.
Yep, absolutely. This bloke, I've never seen a frown cross his face. And Cal kind of cut from the same cloth, actually. I remember a time, I think it was in Albuquerque. We went to the airport, and he was there. His flight had been delayed, and that's an annoying thing to have happen to anyone.
Yep.
This guy was there with the biggest ice cream I have ever seen in my life, right? Like, you get big servings of food in America, but this thing was as big as his head, and he was there thriving in his lane, fully moisturized, having a great time, eating this ice cream, and the fact that his flight was delayed didn't touch him. Blade of Grass, baby, blown with the wind.
Sounds amazing.
Relic of Progenitus, this is a card that we've seen in the main deck of some Tron lists. Talk to us, Corey, about why we're seeing Relic played main deck these days.
Yeah, Relic is just a really strong piece of graveyard interaction. At the worst case, aka the floor of this card, you can just cycle it away for 2 mana, no problem, easy peasy. But being able to shut down decks like Living End, shut down Breach, all these kind of things, ends up being really valuable. Also, there's kind of a weird interaction where you can exile all your stuff and then use Karn the Great Creator to get those things back, those kind of artifacts back. Doesn't come up as often, but a decent amount of application.
If you've got a key card in your graveyard, you can just target that with, you can select that with the targeted ability of Relic of Progenitus.
Exactly. It still has to be an artifact, but that can come up sometime.
Oh, dude, we've seen weirder things happen today with Karn the Great Creator. Earlier on, we saw someone cast an opposing Karn with
off a
Ragavan and then get sideboard cards unlicensed as the One Ring out of their sideboard. Rakdos Evoke putting Karn the Great Creator to work. Didn't have that on the bingo card, but we certainly saw that happen today. Here and now, however, Karn the Great Creator could be a key aspect of this matchup, not only because of its sideboard searching capability, but that Null Rod-esque line of text at the top
is really kind of the most important thing. Anybody who watched, our very last match of yesterday, round 8, first of all, this Tron mirror has already went double in the amount of time that match went. We saw Zachary Kinney scooping it up in record time whenever Karn the Great Creator got in play because it shuts down most of the deck.
But look at this. We find the tower of the Ancient Stirrings. Nielsen and Calcano share a chuckle as Karn, liberated, hits the battlefield. A huge play in this deck, and it looks like Nielsen ready to pack him up as a result of the mighty Planeswalker hitting the battlefield. And Calcano will be very happy he's playing this card for this exact situation. Sometimes you hit Tron, you get it. Didn't happen on turn 3 for him as he was hoping. That could have been the massive blowout situation there, but ultimately got over the line with the 7-drop.
And it didn't happen on turn 3 because of the one of Boseiju. So Simon had to get extremely lucky that game to not have the great joy of scooping a turn earlier.
As it is now, we're seeing a very similar situation in game number 1 to game number 2. 1-drop artifacts for both players. Expedition map for the Dane, whereas the Americans got a chromatic sphere here.
Okay, and that is the draw on the draw that you're looking for is 2 Tron lands with the map. So now Christian Calcano has to be on defensive and looks at hand, check notes for Boseiju. It's there once again. So Christian Calcano is able to disrupt a bit. Now, the one thing you usually want to do when you do disrupt for any players playing this Tron deck at home, if you can ever aim at a land, pick the tower. It just adds a little bit extra. Unless you have any other information, like maybe they have a second tower type thing.
So when is the time to fire off this Boseiju? Do you do it now?
Yeah, I would do it now or after the draw step. I think both are reasonable.
My point is you need to do it before you get to the main phase.
No matter what,
because then you don't get a chance to do it. You can't respond to a land being played.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. It really doesn't matter draw step or not, but yeah.
And we're going to see it here. Draw step, cycle away the chromatic sphere for green, and channel the Boseiju going after. Ooh. What are we going after here? Was it the tower? It looked like it pointed at
looked like it was at the mine.
Yeah, the mine.
Yeah. And I guess the one reason that you would do it after the draw step, when these decks played a little bit less land, is there's a small chance you could draw the forest and already have 2 forests in hand, and then you fail to find. We sort of take this for granted. We've watched hundreds, thousands potentially of hours of the best players in the world play. Yeah.
Sometimes from you, from a first person's perspective, Corey. So we kind of take that sort of thing for granted, right? Like we understand, of course you do it in the draw step to prevent blah, blah, blah. But a lot of new players, they'll be sitting there thinking, oh yeah, right. Because if they draw the forest off that draw step, then they don't get to search for something with the Boseiju, bit of extra value. And these little 1%ers, they all add up.
Exactly. Can happen. That's for sure.
So Warping Whale was the card cast off of that draw step blown up mine. And now we see forest from the Boseiju and a power plant. And was that the Sylvan Scrying now?
Sylvan Scrying, yep. And obviously Calcano wanted to prove me wrong there immediately by destroying the other non-tower land. Of course, you always go for the mine if you can.
Always go for the mine if you can, unless, of course, you don't, in which case go for the tower. In which case, however, if you don't go for that, go for the power plant.
Yes.
Absolutely.
With a slight clause.
But not necessarily in that order.
Sometimes.
Sometimes, yeah. You want to go for the mine, the tower, or the power plant.
Yep.
And that's in my favorite order. None particular.
Absolutely, but it can change.
You ask any Magic Pro any question about Magic, and you don't need to hear their answer. It is always, it depends.
Exactly, there you go.
It depends.
There you go. All right, so it looks like we don't have Tron here In play for Calcano right away, Sylvan Scrying to pick up the land for next turn, but Simon's going to be the first one to accomplish big mana here. So we're going to have 8, 9 mana available. We'll see what what you can do. Karn the Great Creator is already excellent. So Karn and then can get a 5-drop to start right away.
It's a weirdly good one. Okay.
Well, okay. So one thing you can do for sure is go Karn the Great Creator. I mean, you can attack for 1 with this Eldrazi spawn. Go get the Stone Brain. And you can name Urza's Mine.
Okay.
We did see this yesterday where Stonebrain named like Karn the Great Creator.
Now that was during Zachary Keeney's any % speed run of a feature match.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was. It was. And it was a big thing that they were considering. Zach was like, I'm not sure. Maybe I go for the other Urza land. Maybe I go for Karn the Great Creator. It seemed like a coin flip. And decided to go for Karn. We'll see what Simon does now.
Liquid Metal Coating instead, the choice here for the Dane. And this is devastating as we see Haywire Might and another Haywire Might as well. Looks like he brought in a couple of them. And Calcano at this stage, this is a disaster, right? So the Liquid Metal Coating, again, we'll go over this for those unfamiliar with this interaction. Liquid Metal Coating turns opposing permanents into artifacts. Now, why would you want to do this? When you've got a Karn the Great Creator with the static text, activated abilities of artifacts your opponents control can't be activated. This means you turn the Urza's Tower or any land into an artifact, and all of a sudden, it can't be tapped for mana.
Yes. So it can't be tapped for mana, but it does still have the ability of Tron. It doesn't take away the abilities. So we're going to see this. And I think I know the reason why we didn't get Stonebrain here. I think they may side it in. Because didn't we see Zachary Keeney just hardcast it?
He drew it naturally, yeah. So it's probably in the 60 rather than 50.
Which, I mean, I would love to hear the ins and outs of why you bring this in, because realistically, when you bring in a card like the Stonebrain into your main deck, you have now eliminated 3 copies of the Stonebrain from your deck.
And Nielsen brought in 2 copies of Haywire Might as well.
Brought them both in.
He brought them both in.
And I mean, to be fair, there are a lot of bad cards. Relic, Wormcoil Engine, Dismember. So it's probably more of a scenario of I need to get these X cards out rather than I want to bring these cards in. But, you know, this kind of specific scenario, leaving just the Stonebrain in the board would have been way better.
But I guess you then cut yourself off from the turn 2 Stonebrain, which is so much better than the turn 3 or 6 or 10 Stonebrain. Because you can't, if it's in the sideboard, you can't just mize it and get lucky, draw it in your opening hand and play it.
Yeah, because the earliest you can ever do it is activate Stonebrain on turn 3.
Yes.
And when you assemble Tron, you go Karn, Stonebrain, and then you only have 1 mana left over. I guess if you get lucky and you have Warping Whale or Talisman of Resilience.
But then you have to, like, draw the Tron pieces naturally.
Yes,
it's really, really edge case.
So, yeah, I mean, a lot of these little just corner case scenarios where these players have talked about these things over and over.
Okay, so Khan goes downstairs. Let's see if we can get a little squiz at... No, okay. When he's playing the cards very close to the chest. Cityscape Leveler, the pickup. This is the 8-mana 8/8 here from the Brothers' War.
That will give a Power Stone, deal with Karn the Great Creator, and that unlocks the artifacts for Simon once again. So now Liquid Metal Coating can do some damage. Ooh, and look at that. Since it is not a creature,
I haven't even brought up my
get that land out of there.
So this is the thing that Haywire Might is able to do as well. After the Liquid Metal Coating turns a land into an artifact, the Haywire Might can just eat it up, and away it goes, exiling the land as well, which is critical in a format dominated by the One Ring.
Yep, and now this is Christian Calcano's 1 turn to do something. If he didn't have Tron land, now every turn it was going to be blow up a land.
Yep. His 1 turn to do something has come and gone, and so now we go to game number 3. Karn the Great Creator proving to be just as efficacious in ending Tron mirrors as Karn Liberated.
Honestly, you know, looking at the top match here where we have Tron versus Tron, some people are like, oh, come on, a Tron mirror? These have been so fun to watch. Like, blink and you miss them, but it is really fun, especially really fun to see these 2 players. But, Riley, I see some opening hand sizes here.
Oh, boy. Oh, wow. Christian Calcano, 6 cards. All right, sure, that's a normal amount of cards to start with in your opening hand. Simon Nielsen, 3.
But the brain is in the hand here for Simon Nielsen, so if Simon draws a land, you can just play Stonebrain now. Oh, but Christian Calcano was on the play here, so Calcano can assemble Tron first, then...
Yeah, and he can as well. He's got the mine, he's got the tower, he's got the power plant. But here, Simon Nielsen on a mulligan to 3. He's got Stonebrain in hand. He's considering whether he wants to play it or crack that expedition map, I guess.
Okay.
That's his decision point. He passes. Okay, so now natural Tron. Natural Tron for the calculator.
So here's one of the main difference between Team Handshake and basically everybody else's list. Ugin the Spirit Dragon has since been retired from Team Handshake's list, but still played from the calculator. And now, if you have Stonebrain from Simon Nielsen, what do you name? You probably name Karn the Great Creator, and if that's the name, Ugin is still going to run rampant.
Yeah.
You tick up to 9, tick up to 11, -10, essentially just win the game.
Zachary Keeney is here just yelling at the TV. Nielsen, no, Simon, don't do it, don't do it. I've been there before.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, dear. Zachary Keeney has been through all of this, but now it's Simon Nielsen, who himself has Tron, aided by that expedition map. Going to be able to cast and activate the Stone Brain here, and let's see what he's going to name. This is a crucial decision point for the Dane here.
So here's the interesting part. If Karn the Great Creator was in hand, it would have been played. So you know for sure, based on how Christian Calcano has played, Karn the Great Creator is not in hand.
And
so
also can't liberate it. Not that that's...
Yes,
that,
no,
that's
you're
card
totally
he's-
right.
Yeah.
So now my brain would be going to Ugin, probably, or not Ugin, excuse me, Ulamog would be kind of the first thing.
Yep.
Or Ugin, but yeah, I would
It's the call is Ulamog here. We just saw Simon Nielsen.
definitely correct.
Ulamog and fans out the hand. And you can see Simon's face. Look at his face, a little surprised. But even though he doesn't hit the Ulamog in the hand, he'll still be able to snag them out of the deck, of course. And Nielsen's also going to be able to use this as a fact-finding mission to figure out exactly what Calcano's post-board plan looks like.
Exactly, and honestly, great name. That's exactly what I would have done. There's 2 Ulamogs. There's 1 Ugin.
I would have named Dugan.
And yeah,
I would've
'cause
named Ugin.
you're right up there.
Yeah, of course.
Big brain, stone brain, Riley Knight.
Yeah. Wrinkle as all hell, absolutely.
Yeah, I like the name, and there's only 1 Ugin in the 75 for Christian Calcano, so it's tough to...
Why do you have to tell me that?
I'm just like a very rude person. I have 1 mana floating, by the way.
I'm just a very rude
I'll take it.
person,
Very
says
rude.
Simon.
I think it's very true. It's
Yeah,
extremely true. yeah.
Exactly.
That's if there was one adjective I would use to describe Simon Nielsen,
Rude, yeah.
Yeah, rude.
We were all thinking it.
he is a rude dude with a whole lot of tude. This guy.
Of course, we are joking. Simon Nielsen, I think, is the nicest person I've ever met, at least in contention.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm right here.
I stand by it.
All right. Okay. We got expedition map played off of that floating mana from the tower. Nielsen tapped the tower in order to activate the Stone Brain, so 1 mana left over, and ships with 2 mana available thanks to that mine. We're going to see Nielsen write down the contents of Calcano's hand here, and what a hand it is. Next turn, Ugin. Pretty easy card to slam onto this battlefield, and can start ghost firing. Can start activating that +2 ability.
Yeah, and then kind of thinking about what the best possible draw is for Simon, I'm thinking as long as there is a Pithing Needle, which there is, and the Pithing Needle is left in the sideboard, your best card is still Karn the Great Creator. Go get Pithing Needle, name Ugin, the Spirit Dragon, and then, you're doing great. But we don't know if the Pithing Needle's in the main. We don't know if it was brought in because it's an Urza Saga target.
True. All right. Here's Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Upstairs, target you, 3 damage. Nielsen goes down to 17. And Ugin goes to a colossal 9 loyalty.
All right. Ulamog would also be great for Simon. No, we only have the mountain in hand. Didn't fetch with the map there,
Fetch
so
with the
clearly
map.
had a plan.
Didn't fetch with the map.
Probably trying to sack the map for Boseiju, play Forest, eliminate Tron. Since Simon has seen the hand, knows that there's not another power plan at least, so you can clear that out. But now Simon is going to be put to the test next turn and forced to draw something because the Ugin ultimate doesn't exactly say I win the game, but it's about as close as it gets.
What is it? Draw 7, gain 7, put 7 permanents into play.
That's it, yeah.
You can't win from that position. My goodness.
Yeah, exactly.
And also, usually the Ugin sticks around because it's -10, and the Ugin will often be on 11.
It will, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
I don't think any of my cards do anything.
Oh, dear. Oh, Simon Nielsen just looking through the ham sandwich that is his hand at the moment and thinking, okay, all right.
And let me remind y'all that 12-1. One more win from Simon Nielsen. Is that locked for top 8? There's still a chance that, who knows, tiebreakers, if you go loss, you might be able to sneak in. But Simon really wants to lock it up right now.
Yeah, this is a win and in for the top 8 for Simon Nielsen. At 13 wins, players are removed from the tournament and secure their slot in the top 8. And Nielsen, that window is closing for him very rapidly in this game. I mean, mulligan to 3. We're not going to take anything away from the bloke. It was an uphill battle from the get-go here.
Yeah.
But he's in a really tough spot. And Forest power plant in hand, and not a whole lot else going on.
Not a whole else. Absolutely. And on the flip side, Christian Calcano got that 10 wins. So no matter what, we're going to be seeing Calcano at the next Pro Tour. But I think Christian wants a little bit more here.
He's hungry for, he's seeking a greater prize.
Yeah,
for sure, yeah.
That I did not notice.
Yeah, I think that's something that we've had throughout the entire series, throughout the entire season. 10 wins will get you locked up for the next PT. So it's good to see people who are performing at a high level rewarded for that dominance.
Absolutely.
Back over to Christian Calcano now, as Simon Nielsen comes to the conclusions that, yes, indeed, his cards do nothing. But didn't play the Forest, interestingly.
Yeah, just thinking Beseju is not that big of a deal. If you draw a Haymaker, you're going to beat me anyways type of scenario.
Okay.
And
here we go.
Yeah. And
oh, no. We're getting the inside scoop. We're getting the inside scoop from the horse's mouth. I forgot to put coating in.
I don't think Simon knows we can hear him verbally.
He forgot to put coating in my board. And now we can't see what the rest of that is. I forgot to put coating in my board again. And you know what? All the people who are watching this, they can't hear us right now, but all the people who are watching this on mute, all the people who are watching the VOD later on, months down the track, hello to all of you. You're not listening, it's on mute, but you're getting this explanation here from Simon Nielsen.
Gotta love it. Simon giving us a real show here.
Sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
One reason that Simon didn't go for the Beseju line is Simon does know about Christian Calcano's Beseju. So if Simon Beseju's the land, then Christian gets a Forest, and then Beseju's back. And Simon needs Tron to claw back into this game.
And we're entering into a Beseju arms race at this point. The doctrine of mutually assured Beseju.
That's also why the map is not being cracked at all. So it gets the Tron piece that gets blown up by Beseju. Here's the little intricate levels of this Tron mirror. Also, he forgot to put coating back in his sideboard.
That's another factor that comes into it. Just these little edges. Just these little edges. Forgetting to put cards in your sideboard. Yeah, makes all the difference. All right, back to Simon Nielsen now. I think he's got an enormous uphill battle ahead of him here to try to get back into this. Ugin ready to go ultimate next turn. Card off the top, but we're going to see a draw step Beseju here for Calcano, thanks to this chromatic sphere.
Yep, looks like it.
On the tower, okay. So that means that Nielsen can use it to go and get the expedition, or go and use the expedition map to go and get another tower.
Yep.
And we're going to see that.
And that's what's going to happen. And it looks like we are going to be in the spot, kind of like we were last turn. We're going to get that tower, put it in hand for Simon. If Simon draws, Karn the Great Creator is going to have a plethora of mana, 7, 9, 10 mana, and will be able to get something to deal with Ugin. You can go Karn the Great Creator, have 6 mana left over. Pithing Needle seems like the one that stands out to me. That's a pretty clear one. Could also get Liquid Metal Coating if it was there and target Ugin.
Haywire Might, I think that was the draw. Yes, Haywire Might was the draw for the turn. That's not going to do it against Ugin the Spirit Dragon, and it looks like here Christian Calcano is going to be able to ultimate the Spirit Dragon after a Warping Whale deals with that Haywire Might. A really huge play coming your way from Christian Calcano. Ugin the Spirit Dragon, -10, gain 7, draw 7, put 7 permanent cards onto the battlefield.
Buckle up.
Buckle up, cowboy. 7 off the top, a very stately 7 here for Calcano. He's taking his time. It's not often you get to Ultimate Ugin, and he's enjoying every second of it.
You know when we see like Greg Orange go with Omnath, add a bunch of mana, counter spell?
What have we found? Calcano's about to have a good time.
I'm guessing this is bad.
All right, 3 permanent cards, 4 permanent cards.
That's why I didn't cast it, yeah. No reason to.
Uh,
Are we getting slow roll? Because if the last one is a Khan.
7.
Okay, all right.
wow. All right, if Simon were to win this game where Ugin ultimated, this would be unbelievable.
That is not a particularly strong.
There it is. That's game.
That's much better. That's much better here for Calcano. He's got an enormous amount of mana after putting those 3 spheres and stars into play. Very likely for him to hit some business after that. Drawing an effective 10 rather than just 7 here. And with Khan the Great Creator, if Christian Calcano can't figure out a way to win here, my goodness me,
So
he's going to need to take a long, hard look in that mirror.
We'll see what the option is in the sideboard now because both players do have to bring in a lot of strange cards. So, you know, we'll see what the target is. Liquid metal
so
coating ends up being very strong.
Can you imagine having that card on your sideboard?
And it's really good. This is something I come back to whenever I see this sort of stuff happening at the Pro Tour. It's just good to see people having fun playing Magic.
Exactly.
At the end of the day, it is a game. It's a game that we all love. And look, I'm not taking anything away from the hard, spiky, competitive players who are here to win at all costs, right?
And that's been me at certain times, for sure, you know?
But these two players are in the feature match area of the Pro Tour, with Simon Nielsen so close to locking up a top 8 slot in this match, and they are laughing their heads off, hooting and hollering, having a great big carry-on and enjoying themselves.
Honestly, sometimes you look at it, and Simon said, I'm just here to relax, have some fun, and sometimes when you put that pressure, the weight of the world on your shoulder, you don't think as clear. Maybe you're playing not to lose instead of playing to win. There is really something to be said about kind of having this nonchalant, more relaxed mentality, but have no, no fear about it. These players both want to win, especially Christian Calcano, who definitely does not have this top 8 locked up. There's a big separator when you get your first Pro Tour top 8 and your second. Your second is when you really distance from the field. The amount of people who have top 8 at 1 Pro Tour, great, that is awesome, great accomplishment, not taking that away from anyone. But 2, you separate. The amount of, you go with sheer numbers of players.
You can spike, you can spike a Pro Tour.
Exactly.
You can spike a Pro Tour and get into the top 8 if you've got the right deck at the right time, if you run hot, if you're in that zone for that 1 week.
Yes.
But the good players are separated from the great players by one thing in this game, and that is consistency.
Exactly. And then the elite is separated by, the Kais, the Nassifs that are, poised to do well here again.
The next level from that, away from consistency, is then longevity.
Exactly. And one up from that, Riley Knight.
And then me on top of it all. But hey, I just sit in the sidelines because it's only fair to give other people a chance. All right. So, Calc here having a good long think about what he wants to get out of the board, and Simon just really staring death in the face.
Still, I already have the 2 floating.
And still has these stars to sacrifice. Just start, draw some more cards if you need.
Yeah, the green and colorless floating.
Yeah.
You spent that on the...
No, but
you're doing another one.
yeah.
So green colorless in the pool, and we're going to see another Khan here.
So it looks like green floating.
Just up the tower.
Yeah.
So 1 green in pool. Going to go downstairs and fetch another sideboard card after the liquid metal coating off the first Khan.
You know you're ahead in the game if
And
you
now-
are legend ruling Karns, because the Karn static is good enough,
The 1 ring to rule them all. We see it come down. This has been a huge card in this tournament this weekend. The most played card in the field. And Calcano is going to use it to pull even further ahead in this game. Protection for everything for this turn. And Beseju on the tower once again here.
Just a plethora of things to do here. Calcano just trying to maximize every little inch here. Just make sure Simon has no way to come back into this game.
And Nielsen's got another forest to fetch up here, but I think the liquid metal coating was also activated as well here.
Yep, it was activated on the Urza's Mine, so if the tower is top decked, you only have access to 5, 7, 8, 9 mana.
Only.
But Simon doesn't have
He
an
doesn't have
action
anything.
spell
He
in
doesn't have
hand
anything
or
in
tower.
Yeah, so if he draws the tower, it's nothing. Wormcoil Engine is not enough. And so now Christian Calcano takes out the game and the match, an Ugin ultimate, and a really, really impressive performance from both players. Simon Nielsen down a mulligan to 3 in the last game, but you can see the relief on Calc's face. And look, Simon Nielsen doesn't seem too unhappy either. He's got another bite at the apple. Of course, he can get himself into that top 8 with one single more win, and potentially even without it.
Exactly, and Calcano picking up 11 wins now, so 2 more wins for Calcano, and it is just an absolute lock. Two rounds left to go, so we'll have to win both of those to completely lock it up. But even with one win, with that draw that he already picked up, normally we think of how bad draws are early on in the tournament. Now that we're in day 2 and deep into day 2, these draws start to come into play. We're like, actually, maybe is this counting as a win for me? Unlike day 1, where it is straight a loss.
And you can see the relief and the happiness on the face of, well, you can't see it because Calcano's in the way, but I'm sure Dominguez is very, very happy to see his mate doing well. And it is, I mean, exceptional to see Calcano, who I think we mentioned has taken a bit of a break from the game, right? And then has come back to it, still got it, baby.
And that's the funny thing that we just saw there. That was Calcano hugging Javier. Simon and Javier are teammates, not Calcano and Javier. That just shows what great friends they are, even if they are not on teams. You know, these Pro Tours are really about the relationships that you build, and you know, you really love to see it.
It is a tight old cliche, but it's never been truer. It is all about the gathering. My friends, we are going to check in now with Maria and Marnie, who are going to preview our next match for us, because there is plenty more Modern coming your way.
Hey everybody, don't go anywhere. Coming up next, we have Javier Dominguez on Mono Green Tron versus Kazuni Kasaka on Rakdos Evoke.
Javier is playing this handshake build of Mono Green Tron, taking a look as you do see Karn the Great Creator, the One Ring, and something that's going to be very important in this matchup up against Rakdos Evoke, 3 copies of Dismember in the main deck. On the other side, you do see Kazune is playing Rakdos Evoke, the most popular deck in the room, trying to land a turn 1 Grief or Fury on the battlefield and keep it around using one of those Undying effects. This has historically been a bit of a rough matchup for Tron, but Javier has already bested it once today, hoping to do it again.
Mono Green Tron versus Rakdos Evoke coming up after the break.
Coverage of Pro Tour, The Lord of the Rings, continues here from Barcelona, Spain, and what a pleasure it is to welcome you back to our Magic Con. Friday night, joined by Corey Baumeister here on the tournament floor And we've got our next match lined up and ready to go. We're going to check in with another Tron deck, but this time it's facing off against Rakdos Evoke. Corey, we've talked already this weekend about the shape and texture of this matchup. Traditionally, you would think that a deck filled with hand disruption is going to do pretty well against Tron.
Yeah, usually the thing is with a lot of hand disruption, if you are ripping apart the hand of Tron and they just mulligan to a hand where they just keep all the Urza lands, you can't really Thoughtseize the top of the deck, so you'll draw a Haymaker off the top. But the thing that these Rakdos Evoke decks have going for them is not only do they have all this hand disruption, they have fast clocks thanks to Fury and Undying Malice or Fang Death, and also a lot of Blood Moons. This list in particular doesn't have any Blood Moons in the main, so game one should favor Tron or at least even things out a little bit more. But post-board, it gets pretty rough for the Tron side.
So Dominguez will really be hoping to pick up our first game here. But we could see look at this. Turn 1 Grief. And with that fetch land on the battlefield, it's almost certain that Kazuna Kasaka has something like an Undying Evil, an Undying Malice, or a Feigned Death in order to start his game with a 4-3 Menace after having ripped 2 cards out of Dominguez's hand. And that's not a bad way to start a game of Magic Gathering.
Not bad, but the way that it was also started for Kasaka is a mull to 5, it looks like. It looks like there is the Fang Death, but there is only one other card, so...
You're right, yep.
Yeah.
5 cards for Kasaka, 6 cards for Dominguez.
That is the I'm so sorry to interrupt you there,
No, that's fine. It's all right. I'm sure Javier Dominguez won't mind skipping over my description of him as the 2018 World Champion.
Yeah, you're right. So sorry to Javier more than you. It's okay to interrupt you. But what I was going to say is this is one of the most Thoughtseize-proof hands.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of 2 redundant copies of these ways to search. Has the forest for these ancient stories. Javier is going to be completely fine with this, to be honest.
Thank you.
Picks up a sphere, chromatic sphere off the top. And we're just going to see an Ancient Stirrings fight off here with that forest?
I would think so. Yep.
No. Okay, it's going to be a sphere instead.
You draw a sphere. That's the reason to do that for sure.
Cool. And in comes the Grief now for 4.
Looks like Mount Doom, I believe. Yep.
Yeah. It's been interesting to see which, I guess, utility land the Rakdos decks have chosen from. They generally either Takenuma or sometimes it's Shizo.
Yeah.
In this case, Mount Doom.
Yeah, and as far as legendary artifacts to sacrifice, it looks like there is just one One Ring?
It's not so much about that. It's being able to tap 4 mana effectively to just ping your opponent down. The fact that you can just deal 1 at the end of each turn if you've got nothing else going on. It's marginal, but all of these utility lands are. Takenuma, Shizo, they're all really sort of corner case type situations.
But it is also possible to do the other thing. It, especially with Regavan, you could take your opponent's legendary artifact.
Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Or, I believe, we saw earlier, Karn the Great Creator, go get the One Ring. I mean...
Yeah. It is possible.
It's very tough, though, for sure.
Orcish Bowmaster is another card from the new set, the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth, and one of the most powerful cards in that set for sure. The Bowmasters has been picked up enthusiastically by modern mages around the world.
Yep.
It's unsurprising given its overall power level.
Interesting here, Javier decides to not crack the sphere and cast second Ancient Stirrings just for the reason of not taking another damage off Orcish Bowmaster plus another Amass. And wow, look at this. Kasaka off the top just drawing a perfect curve of Bowmaster into Dathi Voidwalker on the Mold of 5.
I forgot for a second that he mulliganed to 5 because this is not the sort of start that you traditionally have after a mulligan to 5, but Kasaka firing on all cylinders here. And Dominguez is now the one who is under pressure. Finds a Walking Ballista. Is that the one? Is that the one in the main deck there?
Yes. Yep, absolutely.
It's the one of.
And this is pretty nice. You're able to block and then ping. Unfortunately, can't block either of the 2 creatures you really want to, the Grief or the Dathi Voidwalker with Shadow and Menace. So you're able to soak up 2 damage here, but Javier will go down to 2. And have to have a really big turn.
Yeah, this is nuts here for Dominguez. He's just been put under pressure from turn number 1. And this is the other thing about the Rakdos Evoke deck. When they go through and kind of grief you on turn number 1, sometimes, the 2 cards obviously is great. It's obviously good to get them out of the hand. But sometimes just the damage from facing off against a 0-1 mana 4-3 menace from turn one. That's really tough. And this is why we sometimes say an evoked Fury on an empty board, even if it's not killing anything.
Yeah.
A 4/4 double striker, that ends games very quickly.
Exactly. Not a lot of removal spells that deal with that kind of thing right straight away as well. You know, we don't see our classic spell Path to Exile in play.
RIP, taken from us too soon.
Fatal Push with a fetch land can deal with Grief, doesn't deal with Fury. Lightning Bolt doesn't deal with a 4/4 Fury, so plenty of way. Oh my!
Boy, all right. Well, yeah, Domingos drops his pen in shock here. Playing on home soil as well. It's worth mentioning the 2018 World Champion, a hometown hero in Barcelona.
Yep. And also worth mentioning, we are likely to see Simon Nielsen making it to our Sunday stage, which Simon made it at Pro Tour March of the Machine. Well, Javier was there too. So what a performance by Team Handshake and specifically Javier and Simon Nielsen.
Their dominance is unquestioned at this stage. But right now, it's Kasaka's dominance that is going to close out that game after a mulligan to 5. He griefed him. He got him on the turn one grief. And that's all she wrote.
That is a very big lesson to learn in Modern too. We've been talking to a lot of these high-level pros, and the one thing they said is don't be afraid to mulligan. You, unlike Standard, where you can just keep cards and be like, maybe I'll deal with a Shieldred on turn 4, but I'll draw something. Now it's like, okay, you have to deal with Ragavan, you have to deal with Blood Moon, you have to deal with these things immediately, so you got to keep a little bit more powerful, proactive hands.
Yeah, you're expected to deal with things from the jump, right? Which means your opening hand has to look a lot better than it would in other formats that are a little more forgiving. So, what are we looking at here? We got the same thing going on. We're getting griefed.
This looks even better because we see a lot more cards in hand for Kasaka, and we see grief. I'm assuming we have another way to undie it back, and I see every Tron player's favorite card in the far right there, Blood Moon.
Blood Moon. So with the opener of the grief into Feign Death or what have you, Blood Moon will follow things up here. Dominguez right now looks to be in a terrible position.
Yeah, and I want to say Kasaka has been not doing a lot of losing when it comes to Modern. You know, a really strong record. I think picked up 1 or 2 losses in Limited, so kind of running the tables here.
Yeah, at this stage, I think Kasaka is X1 in Constructed, having only lost to... No.
I thought it was X1 or XO.
No, sorry, a draw. Yeah, a draw. A draw against Calcano, I think, is the only non-win that Kasaka has picked up in Constructed, having 2 losses in Limited, 4 and 2 in Limited.
With how fast these Tron versus Evoke matchups have been going, I'm kind of shocked that happened, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that
must have been a little bit of a strange corner case way of the matchup playing out.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1-1 draw between the two of them, a little puzzling for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, well, as it is, Kasaka is really getting it done here and showing us exactly how important, or just how powerful, I should say, this deck is. But Dismember is
huge.
A really important answer here for Dominguez to keep himself in this game.
And that was one of the pieces of tech from Team Handshake. Dismember is a card that, strangely, even though it's cast for 1 colorless, technically has 2 black mana symbols in it, so cannot be played with Giganta.
Okay.
So that's the one reason, and really I think the only reason why they didn't play Giganta is for Dismember, but it ends up being extremely powerful.
Well, it also unlocks another sideboard slot. I've said this before. I don't like the companions. I think they just don't add enough, honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take away a sideboard slot in a deck that really wants its sideboard slots with Khan. Also in a format where every sideboard slot, in Standard or Pioneer or something, sideboard slots aren't as valuable because you're not facing down 20 tier 1 and 2 decks.
Yeah.
You've got to face 20 competitively viable decks in this format. You need your 15 sideboard slots.
Yeah, and looking at the sideboard right now, I mean, I think we've seen every single one of these cards come up, except I haven't seen an Ensnaring Bridge come into play yet, but I mean...
Have we seen, I don't think we've seen Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, maybe not Grafdigger's Cage, but that is a nice piece of tech for Yawgmoth. We've seen Phyrexian Metamorph, and we've seen everything else on camera, so I'm totally with you.
Haywire Might now, the follow-up here for Dominguez. And Blood Moon with 2 swamps for Kasaka. Perfect for him.
Yeah, and we saw that strange interaction where Urza's Saga went to the yard. When Blood Moon comes into play, Urza's Saga is no longer able to stay in play.
Because it doesn't have any... Because of the Saga, because of the lore counters on it?
Historians are still trying to figure out why it works like this, but it definitely does.
Maybe at a judge meeting to figure it out, there was some level 4 judge or something who was like, no, that's how it works. And everyone was just like, well, I'm not going to question it.
You got it.
I'm not going to. It's the Emperor's New Clothes situation. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, cards like Spreading Seas, Blood Moon, deal with Urza Saga straight away.
Righto. All right. Orcish Bowmaster's the play here for Kasaka. We saw it do some work last turn with a little bit of chip damage. And takes care of the Haywire Might. And the Construct, the lone remaining creature here for Dominguez.
So the clock is not really there, so Javier has some time and has the answer in play to the Blood Moon, but needs 2 more mountains even will do it. But no luck so far. That Haywire Might in play was poised to deal with it, but you needed to draw a forest as well.
So Ragavan sounds like it's being dashed in here. Tapping a Marsh Flats for red mana.
Yeah. Should we get a judge over there, or...
It is very handy when the Blood Moon comes in. It just simplifies. You know, you don't have to crack, search, fetch, shock, all that sort of nonsense. No, mountain. Mountain.
Yep.
Everything's a mountain. And Dominguez considering a block here.
Yep, debating. It is a 2-2 now, thanks to Oblivion Stone, so that Orcish Bowmaster in there.
And we're going to see a Feign Death.
Okay.
Oh, dude. Okay.
Yeah, that was a nice little, be like, you want to block Orcish Bowmaster? Because if it would die, 1 damage would be dealt to the Construct. It would come back, amass, deal another point of damage.
I don't think it was much of a surprise there for Dominguez. I think he expected something like that coming. But he still considered, I guess, it was worth... He still decided it was worth getting the Feign Death out of the hand. Oh, poor old Dominguez copping an absolute shellacking here as he plays the One Ring.
The One Ring and the other land that was in hand, the 5th land needed for Oblivion Stone was 2nd Urza Saga. So immediately dies, does not add any points of mana.
And finds a Khan, I think. Yeah. Khan, and I believe that's another. He's flicking those cards at light speed. Is another One Ring, I think, in hand?
I believe there was a Karn.
Yeah, there's a Khan, and there's a... Okay, well, we're just never going to... We need to watch this on 0.25 speed to figure out what the card is. So it's a Ballista. Okay.
Yeah, we've watched in the past Javier Dominguez draft as well, and it's just tricky. He keeps his cards very close to him.
Oh, he does.
Looks at them, puts them down, does the thinking, and, you know, just knows the lines based on that.
Back in the olden days, we used to record the draft with pen and paper, right? We would write down all of the cards drafted by all of the people at the draft table. And, you know, it was me and Frank and Matei and a bunch of other people. We'd all have to get little clipboards and stamp on Tim, whoever else. And getting behind, being the one assigned to Javier Dominguez was the worst one, man.
Yeah.
You'd think, oh, great, get to watch one of the greatest players in the world draft. No, because all you're doing is playing hide and seek with this guy as he hides his cards from everyone, almost including himself. But no, he does play his cards close to his chest in a very literal sense here.
Yeah, and you tell him before the match, like, hey, maybe try to show us a little bit. And he's like, you got it. But
absolutely.
Then he's such a focused
he gets a bad
competitor.
He gets a bad case of gamer brain.
Exactly. But you don't get to be a world champion, multiple Pro Tour top 8 champion without these kind of skills. But here is the ring just absolutely going off. And is there a land?
Oh, my goodness.
I don't know if there's land 5.
He's run 6 cards with the One Ring, and he still hasn't found a 5th land.
And now it's getting close to the spot where this clock is starting to be large. Like this is 5 damage. The ring is dealing 3 more. That's 8. Javier's at an effective 4.
But he doesn't have another land. I can see, I think, no, I don't. Well, I don't
think so.
He's pulled him back to his chest, but no, the One Ring again. Okay, so that's something at least, right?
Sure.
That not only gets rid of the other ring that has the high number of burden counters, but it also protects him from another onslaught from these creatures.
And I mean, here is the real cost. You know, this version of Handshake Tron, they do play
16 lands.
And they play 2 Urza Sagas instead of the very common 1 Blast Zone, Sanctum of Ugin.
Yeah.
And right there, Javier would have 6 lands in play and now has only 4, strictly because he drew those 2. So, you know, that's not to say that those Urza Sagas have not been incredible throughout the weekend.
It's not that it's wrong.
But there's give and take.
In this corner case here that we're seeing right now, it's extremely bad. Yeah, for sure. Because that O-Stone sitting there just taunting him.
Yeah.
As an answer. All right, so draws. Can he find the land?
He did. He did find the land, and honestly, even with just the ring activation and stuff, this is very much still hugely favored in Javier's hand.
Oh, you're joking?
No, it's very favorable.
Because once the Blood Moon and everything else is out of the way,
And I mean, he's still at 11. Like, because now what Javier is going to be able to do, say go, and then in combat for Kasaka is, say go to combat just so another Ragavan can't be dashed, blow up Oblivion Stone, doesn't blow up your own ring, and then you have Tron available, and you can do whatever you want. Now, that's just a surface play. He could have some other stuff he wants to do as well.
it doesn't blow up his own ring?
It's indestructible. Yeah.
Oh, of course. Right. Yeah,
Yep.
of course.
So nice little interaction there.
And we're going to see, a Talisman as well, and now a Khan. Okay. So it takes a different line here.
Looks like he's going to animate something as a blocker. How about a 4/4 indestructible
for
block?
indestructible, the one ring, yeah, sure. Okay. That's a different line, but it's one that sets him up with a fair bit more material on the board here. So confidently can seem to play through this Blood Moon here, Corey.
Yeah, and what he's setting up for next turn is negative tick with Karn, go get Haywire Might, and now with Talisman of Resilience, you can play the Haywire Might and then blow up Blood Moon, and now even Thoughtseize isn't going to deal with that line.
So being a little more surgical here, and we can finally see Dominguez's hand.
Yeah.
Urza's Saga, a blank piece of cardboard. Sylvan Scrying, another O-Stone, Chromatic Sphere, and Dismember.
Yep, and this was a really nice line by Javier. Maybe you would want to take the line that I was saying with blow up the Oblivion Stone if you have a lot of gas in your hand. But
if you just want to untap and just unload, but
like Ulamog or something. Yeah.
But look at this hand.
It's not great.
Yeah, it's not great.
So I love Javier's play instead.
Yeah, and this is why we watch these. This is why we watch these players play, because we're learning. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Always learning.
Absolutely.
Because I'd hazard a guess, 85, 90% of the people watching, myself included, almost yourself included at that point, you're just like, well, O-Stone, obviously. Like, it's simple. It's very, very simple. It's a straight up 3-for-1. It gets rid of these cards that are causing me issues. I can do it at instant speed. I can make sure to mitigate any advantage that Kasaka's trying to get.
Yep.
But Dominguez's like, no.
Yeah.
No.
But what Dominguez is doing right now by not just making that Oblivion Stone play is, what if Kasaka just goes, okay, second main Blood Moon?
Yeah.
You know, like now Javier wants to blow this up on his turn and then immediately use the mana for value. And right now can negative Karn, go get Haywire Might, tap Talisman, use Forest to blow up Blood Moon, and now all of a sudden he has 9 to 11, 13 mana available.
Whereas Kasaka's second Blood Moon would mean that he'd be back to square one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And would have to play Oblivion Stone, wait a turn to untap, and then blow it up again.
Yeah. So by sort of taking the path less traveled here, Dominguez is actually... and he's not even getting the Haywire Might. He's getting a Worm Coil Engine. So this is the Dominguez diff, dude. Dominguez diff here, takes it out and wins the game and forces a game 3 between these two players. You would have thought, turn 1 Grief, turn 3 Blood Moon, we can pack it up here. We've got to line up another match here. Yep. But no, Dominguez gets over the line. Both players mulliganing to 6 in game number 3 as we kick things off.
And I see more Blood Moons. This time it looks like 2 of them, but no Grief style start. It's Fable the Mirrorbreaker, Blood Moon, Dathi Voidwalker, only 2 lands. So Kasaka not only needs a little bit of help, but also just doesn't have that powerful of a hand. But the flip side kind of being the same. Javier Dominguez starting with a Forest here, also not ideal.
Worm Coil Engine off of the Ancient Stirrings.
Shielded off the top is probably the worst possible draw for Kasaka.
Doesn't really do anything. Just sits in his hand. And Dismember on the Dathi Voidwalker to get rid of that. Now, why is he so keen to get rid of the Voidwalker in that situation?
Just dealing with it now so that Kasaka can't untap and have Fang Death and just keep it alive that way. But just recognizing no matter what, I want to kill it. But yeah, now a missed land drop for Kasaka. The one thing that it's doing is if Kasaka does have Dash Ragavan, I guess you're a little vulnerable to that. But Dash Ragavan is very good against Tron in the sense that it's a ramp spell very often. But it's like, okay, are you hitting Ulamog? Yeah, boom,
look at that.
Wailed out of here.
Dash Ragavan, not an issue. Warping Whale, exile target creature with power toughness 1 or less, and that's what we saw just there.
I think we're done here.
All right. So, Worm Coil Engine off of Unnatural Tron. I guess the Ancient Stirrings helped a little bit. Oh, no, the Ancient Stirrings got the Worm Coil Engine. So, was that just...
Natural, unnatural, whatever is
it
happening.
Doesn't matter. Taps to 7 mana.
Javier Dominguez winning a feature match here does look to be pretty natural at this point.
All right.
That's for sure.
All right, Corey's called it. Corey's called it, everyone. Wormcoil Engine being met with a Fable of the Mirror Breaker from our Japanese player here, Kasuna Kasaka, trying to stay in it. But Dominguez has really come out of the gates in game number 3. Sphere cycled away.
And here's a really nice thing that we got. Here, there's a one ring available, which is almost assuredly going to just run rampant on this game. And the burden counters here, not really that big of a problem when you have Wormcoil gaining 6 every turn.
Yeah, we see the one ring, its downside being mitigated in decks like 4-color Omnath with their ability to gain, 8 life a turn or 7 life a turn. But yeah, here the old 6/6 life linker probably going to help a little bit out. Probably going to help out a little bit here, mate. Absolutely.
And that's another reason to deal with Dathi Voidwalker straight away, just in case Kasaka left in terminates. When you blow it up, you no longer get the 2/3/3s because it goes straight to exile. Sure. And Dathi Voidwalker can then play a Wormcoil. So it's all kind of bad,
Yeah. So heads up from Javier Dominguez getting rid of that potential problem, and with the one ring being followed up by a tower and now a walking ballista. Oh man, Kasaka at this point at 10-2-1, copping another loss in this situation. I hope he can pull through here because it's not ideal. But Javier Dominguez, on the other hand, if he moves to 12-2 with 2 rounds to play, that looks very good for a top 8 slot.
And Javier got the concession from teammate Simon. Which, in that kind of scenario, when you play against the 1 seed, your tiebreakers go up. A little, thing that doesn't maybe get brought up enough. You play against good players or higher-ranked players in the tournament, your tiebreakers do go up further than playing against lower-ranked players.
Remind people, of course, that with 13 wins, you're immediately shortcutted straight into the top 8. You don't have to play any more Magic until Sunday. But even at 12 wins, Dominguez would be in a good spot to at least contest one of those top 8 slots. Depends how the tiebreaker maths works out. There's obviously usually a big scrum for those last top 8 slots. We're not going to be able to figure it out here and now.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you just want to win games of Magic.
Exactly. And the reason for that, this tournament's slightly bigger than maybe the one in Minneapolis, so it's not quite a hard lock at 12, but it's still looking good.
Blood Moon, the card here for Kasaka. Dominguez draws 2 cards off the one ring.
I saw a star and a cityscape leveler, I believe. But of course, that's tough with Javier. He definitely keeps us on our toes.
1 mana.
0 mana.
But with that Blood Moon out, okay, just a star here. And then cycled away. And finds a Sylvan Scrying, which he can use to go and get Boseiju.
Exactly. Yep. Boseiju for Blood Moon. More than likely, I didn't see exactly what was fabled away from Kasaka, but had 2 Blood Moons. You never really need the second one unless one blows up. And when you're in the face of Wormcoil Engine anyways, you're kind of forced to try to find some action to deal with that. You can have all the Blood Moons in the world you want, but 6/6 Lifelinker will eventually get the job done.
So the Sylvan Scrying there was cast with the floating mana from the star.
Correct.
And now, was Tower the pickup?
Yep.
Is Boseiju in hand?
Or just not needed. Just saying, you know what, not that big of a deal. I saw Cityscape Leveler, so maybe just trying to get to 8 mana the old-fashioned way.
All right. Well, in comes Wormcoil Engine in any case. We're going to see a chump block with that Goblin. Dominguez gains 6 and goes up to 23. And now Expedition Map.
And now the map...
29 after that one.
Yep, and now the map at end step can go fetch Boseiju, and you can kind of do it during your turn if Javier wants. Javier can just take a lot of different lines to victory here.
I guess, again, it comes to that the line we talked about before. You want to blow up the Blood Moon and then use the mana it unlocks.
Yeah.
Not blow up the Blood Moon, have them have an opportunity to cast another one.
And that looks like what's going to happen. Boseiju with Power Plant, Forest, then you have 9, 10, 11 mana available, and Leveler can hit Shieldred, then you can draw with the one ring and see what you find there, and that's just step 1. Maybe you can just put counters on Ballista and end the game straight away right now, which it looks to be the case.
All right, so with Dominguez going down to 25 after that burden counter trigger from the one ring, he does have the Boseiju in hand, which can be channeled to get rid of the Blood Moon, and from there, all bets are off. The Spaniard can go absolutely ham. He's got 4 billion mana available with him with those Tron lands. So let's see which avenue he wants to take to victory.
Yep, and you just kind of pick which one you want here. Yeah, Dismember, sure. You can even just add a counter here with Ballista. No, that's a little short.
Draws 3 more cards with the 1 ring.
I believe I saw Karn there. So now you can Beseiju Blood Moon, play Karn with 9 mana, search up something that costs 5.
Oh, my goodness. This game is over. This game is over, mate.
Yeah.
2 mana, channeling Beseiju now to destroy
11, huh?
Blood Moon.
Dropped one for turn. Okay. No.
And I'm just having a
Oh, hang on.
flash.
No, he says. Don't destroy that. Don't tell me he's going to go after the Kiki Jiki.
Yeah,
Oh, he's going after the Kiki Jiki.
then you just add a counter to Walking Ballista, attack for 9, ping for 3. That's 12.
So just then and there, doesn't it? So winning through the Blood Moon. Winning through the Blood Moon for extra points here. Javier Dominguez is able to attack with the Worm Coil Engine and the Walking Ballista, pop an extra counter onto that Ballista, and that's going to be all she wrote here. An attack for 9, and then 3 counters left on the Ballista.
Yep, decided to not put a counter on now, playing around a removal spell. So now, if at any point Kasaka taps out, then he puts the counter on.
Kabam! And that's enough for Javier Dominguez. The crowd goes wild. We see him take it out. Look at him go at 12 wins.
Oh.
He's looking very good for our top 8. So congratulations on home soil. Javier Dominguez, the Barcelona local, will be very, very happy to have gotten across the line there against, look, someone who was, I think, a very worthy opponent in Kazuna Kasaka, who gave us our money's worth with some of the entertaining shenanigans he got off with there.
Yeah, absolutely. And that moment right there, it's so special. It really leads me back to the last Pro Tour where Javier got interviewed right before the top 8 and was just saying, you know, I had a lot of success earlier in the career, but he's like, I don't know if I'll be able to do it again. I haven't top 8'd in like 2-3 years. Top 8's there, and yeah, maybe he's back to his ways. Maybe he's just going to streak it up a few Pro Tours in a row, then maybe take a break if he wants.
Well, we'll see, but it's great to see Javier Dominguez firing on all cylinders. It's good to see the Spaniard thriving in his home environment, and hopefully we'll be seeing more of him before very much longer. Right now, however, we're going to take a break. We're going to continue coverage of Pro Tour The Lord of the Rings before very much longer, so stay with us. We'll be back from Barcelona before very much longer.